I'm gonna hit go live.
All right.
Going live. Okay, we're live. For another Tech Talk. Second in our accessibility month theme.
Today we're going to talk about kind of getting hacky in the rich content editor, specifically the HTML editor within. So anytime you're in Canvas, building content in there, thinking like building a question in a quiz, building instructions for assignment, any of those places, we have kind of access to change how a student really engages with that content. And since it's Accessibility Month, we're thinking mainly, at least for this conversation today, dealing with ways as instructors we might aid students in being able to change the cognitive domain through an assignment, take the pieces that might not be necessary in the moment, but still appropriate in that place, maybe make them toggle be. And I know that's kind of harder to kind of imagine context, but once we get into it, that'll make a little bit more sense.
Some examples, yeah.
Exactly. So without further ado, unless there are any burning questions, let's dive into just tag to help change the user experience.
So let's show some examples.
So I built this little assignment where, let's imagine a course that maybe it's an internship course, but for whatever reason, we're having students complete a video journal each, dealing with students who might have different ways of interacting with courses, creating stuff that is consistent and they can kind of expect the same thing. Note, I should mention, as we kind of go through here, but here we've got a tilted assignment. So we're asking them to create these video journals. We have why they're doing it. We have a task associated. We have, ignoring titles. This video journal, not every student might be sure it was there, but as you can see, linearly going through these little pieces that have, this is what I need to do to complete. Oh, hey, there's this add-on. Those kind of elements might cause some specific subsets of our class to get stuck, right? Oh, wait, do I need to watch this? Not, I have to make that decision in my brain before moving on through. This could be an area where somebody gets stuck.
I've always struggled with that in the TILT framework. There's so much benefit to providing steps for different students at different times.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But it can also get overwhelming and hard to kind of filter out what's a similar task week to week. It can, again, feel redundant for some every week to make sure they have everything. So that's always, I've always found.
We love transparency frameworks. They do great work, can better engage with. But, and as Caleb mentioned, tilted assignments can get means a long tilted assignment. This is a very short one.
Yeah.
And we've scrolled, quite a bit just to get to criteria for success. We've got a lot of context. But then, oh yeah, I'm asking students how to make there. As you're trying to, it feels like, oh crap, I gotta add this on, but where do I put it? And really does deal with how you even need this all together. So it just ends up creating visual noise for them. It would be great for, I could hyperlink out to it. So create but sometimes that can get a different problem that I might need to address. So again, a little bit hacky in Canvas. So we try to send students are gonna be doing it every week. What's the stuff they might need all the time when something shows up? So that's where we can use the DN as my example for now. May or may not, they'll be able to decide whether they remember what the weekly theme is and need a toggleable opportunity. And that's where we can use the details tag. And I'll show you what that looks like. We are in a rich content editor, and that's this block right here. If you're creating your home page, it shows up everywhere, but that's what we call this editing space. In this case, it's my prompt for this assignment. There we go. Sound effects not included. So I'm going to scroll down. I'm just all about how a student's engaging with this content and the visual elements. I'm going to scroll down because once I jump into the HTML editor, things look a little bit different. If you're not comfortable, so you can tell I'm kind of seeing a couple of different best practices in here. One of them is, well, I already have headings, so I'm going to be looking for this task heading. And that's probably how I'm going to be able to this little snippet of HTML code around this. So that if I look, task it's going to be after task, and it's going to be right before HTML editor. And now I scroll down just a little bit further, this little kind of carroted brackets. I always forget their real title, but the point is if you mouse over it, so I click that and shows me what's under the hood. This is what Canvas is reading to show our students content. Most cases, we don't change colors, I can add, but want to get a little bit fancy, I got to jump in here. So now remember, I'm going to be looking for task. oh, I see here I set the task as a level 2 heading, a good accessibility practice, making sure that you have those already. Clearly, they also create really nice visual clarity. But oh, a bit further, and oh, here we go. This is the piece that goes all the way down. So this is the chunk from the main space that I want to put into a toggle.
Jessica says terrifying.
Beautiful.
So I mean, yeah, you need to be able to look at the HTML code and
Yep.
at least navigate and find where you're at.
Absolutely.
And I like your framework of easy to pick out from the code.
And try to, and I mean, don't feel like you have to spend a ton of time in this space.
Right.
We're just doing one thing.
Yeah.
So the goal is to do as much as we can in the main space. I add this little thing.
Okay.
So I know where my boundaries are, and you'll notice every item is, you have a starting tag and an ending tag or in means. In this case, this is an unordered, so that makes a bulleted list. So there's ways that once you get paragraph, this is a paragraph of text. This stuff gets a little freaky, yes, but this is what it'll look like if you've got a Panopto video or a YouTube video in there like I do. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit enter on my keyboard, and I'm gonna create some space around it. Now, this doesn't change any of the visual formatting associated with it. So basically Canvas doesn't see what I just did. So, yep. And now this is where we get into actual editing. So remember, I'm trying to make a toggleable experience. I want to hide this, hide it, right? It's not going to be view for students. So I want them to be able to, I can click into this and see it here on the page without having to go somewhere. That's what I'm trying to create. So I'm going to start by mimicking this kind of syntax. That's what they call it, but essentially this format. And I'm going to type in details and I'm going to close it. So that's going to be the start of what we call the details tag, hence the title. Okay. Now, I'm going to want to make a title for the details tag, just like you would have a descriptive title for your assignment at the top. I need a descriptive title. In this case, I might even take this first line of text. Don't remember our weekly theme, or I could say something like, click in to review our weekly theme. I could kind of orient the students to what they should do with this. So maybe that's actually how I'll do it. I'll go, and this is where we change a little bit of the wording, but we go summary, and that creates the title for this. Okay. I'm gonna say, this I'll do, trying to remember title case off the top of my head. Click to review our weekly theme. And I could even, because this is in week 5, I could say week 5 theme. I want to even be more specific and make sure that, again, that also tells me as the instructor, oh yeah, I put stuff in this space. Okay. I'm gonna have to edit it each week.
And then you put your closing tag for that.
Absolutely, yep. So just like with /summary, and then I just look for the end of all this content. And this is the piece that takes some getting used to. I always end up putting the end of my details tag in a weird spot. That's just my weird little, I guess, idiosyncrasy when I'm doing this. But the point is, I've got to just remember where everything ends. Oh, here's the start to that criteria for success. That was my next heading. I know that's the end of what I want. So anything above should be in that details tag. So now I'm going to go to the end of all this content and go close details. Yep, close the details tag. So backslash, I always actually forget the true name of that. But point is, this top piece and this bottom, those are the only pieces you need to make this work. I'm gonna double check our chat to make sure I'm not going to. Oh yeah, sometimes the control F to when you're in this space, sometimes find things like,
Yeah, so in this case, you could search for word review. That would.
oh yeah, in the browser, I think. Chrome should be fine though. Great point, Cameron. So yeah, that can also help with orienting each of the space. So now, once I've got all of this basically how I want it, this is my little best practice. Selected all of the text in this space. Okay. This is my insurance policy. I've copied all of this text. The reason I do that is because if Nick Butterfingered anything, it's sometimes could close out of everything, you know, scroll to the bottom, click cancel if something looks weird. But because of the person I am, I also just, I copy all the text, and if I need to, I can just control V over it and have everything back and then go back through. So that's probably more context you need, but I find that that's a helpful tip if someone like some way to save all their stuff. But now view with a little arrow and then some information. That information looks the same, all good. Now, this is a little experience button essentially open. So I'm gonna click save. And again, my view is very zoomed of the assignment. So instead of having this button now, a student can click, you know, week 5 overview. But point is, I can put anything in this space and it's toggle feel for, or not feel, but to understand what's asked of them, they might be doing a quick scan, and that's usually our first way of encountering content. We go back a little bit deeper the second time, and we kind of do these passes through. Students do that as well. They'll be able to kind of navigate around this. Now, you'll notice it kind of gets lost a little bit in the weeds. So now we've got kind of another little formatting issue we might want to address. And that's where we can adjust the formatting of the actual title, creating some space, trying to center it. All of that can also happen. Doesn't look like, you know, just very quickly. And I can kind of show you some of the main ways I do it, especially on a simple level. Again, create some space there. And I'm gonna click enter here, create some space after. So now this should be on its own, and maybe what I'll do is I'll bold it, italicize visually.
You could even make it a header if you wanted to, right?
You could potentially put header formatting in. You'd have to like manually do it in the HTML editor because of the conversation about how HTML works.
Okay.
But all I've done is I've just created basically a return, a carriage return here.
So basically, once you've made it, you can treat it almost like any other piece of text.
Yes.
You can style it any way you want.
Yeah.
You can make the text bigger, change the color if you wanted.
Yep.
Put a highlight on it.
Yep. Could do all of that. So now if I save it again, we can kind of see what the student view looks like. And so you can do this for any blocks of text that kind of run to interact with this the way you need them to, but could be useful for a certain their experience while they're actually in the assignment page. Makes things a little bit more legible. You notice that we don't have that big video, which visuals are good tools. Like they'll go there first, they might miss the context through content. So ways that we can kind of control that experience or let students work.
So like on this page, you also have that big chunk of resources.
Exactly.
That would be a natural.
Need to be a heading for a student.
If a student knows how to
Probably
do this, they don't need that every single time.
Yeah.
It's available.
So really quickly, and this is I'll say that now as someone who's gotten the muscle memory. You know, it's kind of a privileged spot. Oh, and Cameron's got a comment. I'm now using the Docs also has opportunities like that. Start with collapse settings to shorten the word dump, repeating past instructions. Exact good practice, a general practice. Ways to kind of make the process of the student understanding what's asked of them, transparency there. So I'm going to go from how do I make my recording? So it's right after my criteria for success. It's got a big block of text. It's going to be a little bit harder to find. But I'm going to go all the way down, and maybe I'll go to right here where we start talking about Canvas support. Or maybe this becomes its own. You know, you can make as many of these as you need. But if I jump back into the HTML editor, I'll look for that criteria for success. There it is. And now I've got my paragraphs and I can read through these, right? It's going to be the same exact content. It's just got these different tags around the content to tell Canvas what it needs to look like. But how do I make my recording? There it is. So what I did last time was I hit enter to give myself a little bit of space. So I'm going to do things a little bit out of order because why not make things more complicated than it needs to be? But now I add my details. So I've opened the details tag, which you should probably do first just for your own sanity. Do as I say, not as I do. But then I've made my summary, right? This is my description. Scroll down. Okay, there's my video. There's my written instructions. I'm recording your video journal. Please remember, okay, I had some best practices in there. Let's just say I want all of this right before that note. That's always important. Anything that's opened, just like a door, needs to be closed. And now I'm gonna hit save. Fairly confident it'll come through the way I want to. Famous last words. But I scroll down. There's my first one that I did a little bit of formatting. We'll do that same formatting. And there we go. How do I make my recording?
Very nice.
Click it and it toggles. Students can use their keyboard and they can select it. I can use my keyboard to actually access this as
So
well.
that's a good note. The details tag is accessible. If a
Yes.
student uses a keyboard and a screen reader to navigate, it works just fine.
Yeah. And the beauty of it is it comes fully packaged with basically all of the things a screen reader would read. Oh, this is a button with a title. That's what that summary
So
is.
the screen reader will say, button, how do I make my recording?
And then it'll allow them to dive a little bit further. So then I'm going to scroll all the way down. I'm going to make an enter. And you'll notice anytime I select, it'll tell me where my cursor is. So right here, I'm outside of the details tag. Right here, I'm in the details tag.
That's a great point, because I make that mistake all the time,
Right, this, it will be in the details tag.
because that trips me up sometimes when I'm outside of the code, because I'm not in the code
Mhm.
viewer. And then I type something in that does not go where I want it to go, so that's a handy little
Yep,
checker.
now, if I come back here, there we go, I'm in the next paragraph, hit enter. Now, we're doing this, oh, sorry, just for my own sanity. I did bold italic, okay. I didn't do title case, I'm a monster. But, we're doing this in the most stripped down version, right? Okay, we've got a little button that we can do. Now, there are ways that we can make these more robust. They can have more visual appeal, and they can essentially point students to them as there's a way, to create a hierarchy, if you will. If we kind of elevate what this looks like, it could look more like a button, make it have some, some styling.
Geez, Nick, if only you had a
Imagine
repository.
the worst. There is a link from the faculty development space, so if I scroll down, you should find, scroll, e-learning templates under our frequently requested resources on the homepage. You click that. This is just a repository of all the snippets that we use when we're doing projects with faculty members.
Credit where it's due, like 90% of this is your code.
So yeah, that means it's all crazy and chaos, but the point is you can ask us at any time if you need help with any of this, I need to put a details tag in, I saw the tech talk, don't have the muscle memory yet,
Yeah.
send us an email.
Yeah.
But the point is there's also accordion styles, that's how we kind of called it when we first started using it. You can click into this page and there is a number of different options. So here's a title drop down. So that's the title of the drop down. You'll see that down here. You would just replace this text, but you can copy all of this.
Style code in HTML. You don't know what any of that means, but you've already designed it to look nice and has the nice rounded border around it,
Yeah,
makes it into a little breakout box.
but I can copy this. And with the last minute, I'll show you if I jump back over that, that internship journal thing. Wow, brain broke. Let's say you wouldn't want to do this, but let's say I want my purpose to look like that. Enter, enter, enter. Remember, none of that's seen in the other side of things. But there, I've just copied all of that code and
Change all the text part.
title of dropdown, purpose. I want. I'm just going to copy this. You'll notice I'm not copying the tags. I'm just copying the black text. Let's save it, and like magic, assuming that's, and I can pop that in wherever. And certain stylings will work for certain reasons, or my text for quiz questions. I've got a complex diagram and I've got an explanation for it underneath.
We'll talk a little bit about that
It's a
next
whole
week.
fun thing, yeah. So yes, there's a little HTML involved. No, you don't have to do it alone. That's why we're here, but wanted to make sure you were aware that's an option. You have some of the tools to do it yourself. So with that, I'll close it down for those that need to head out. But if you want to see things are looking and seeing if everybody's feeling comfortable. So with that, thank you for attending. Hope you enjoy watching the recording later. Reach out if you got any questions, and then I'm gonna start reading through the chat for those who are
Okay.
still here.
I'm gonna stop the live stream and we will see you next week. Figure out where I put.
All right, let's see. Love using for rubric details on Canvas so that students can, but they aren't bogged down in that text. Yeah, rubrics, giant, usually very, very large elements that you might be adding to an assignment. Great example of something you might hide. Yes, Liz, and send me an email if you just want me to send you. Yeah, there's tons of stuff in there.
There's a bunch of different ones.
That, yeah, we just have all sorts of weird stuff in there. Awesome, Sam. Perfect. Okay. Looks like no major questions, but as always, reach out if you got any.
Awesome.
With that, I'll stop the share. Let y'all go.
See you, Cameron.
Nice job. All right.
Don't
Have
All
fun.
right.
Yeah.
Bye, Jess.
Bye.